Well, hello everybody. This is Daniel with Daniel's Bullion Coins. I have my sweet wife Ingrid here today.
Good morning.
She's going to ask us some questions and we're going to take it from the top.
Okay, Darla, first we'll start this week with the week in review.
Oh, the week in
what did
review.
You see?
Yes, we always like to let everybody know, kind of from a small coin dealer located between Washington, D.C. and Richmond, Virginia, what we're seeing here at the shop.
Yeah.
And rather than just a week, let's go back a month, maybe
Okay.
3 weeks, because it's been an interesting 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, gold went up to 3,500, and we were really seeing a run there. It pulled back, and we had some whales come in and sell. And I noticed other dealers saying the same thing, that huge sellers were coming in, record-breaking sellers came in. So we put those aside and then just looked at everything, kind of looked at everything else. And we called it slow, slower, and slowest the first 3 weeks of this month that we're talking about. But this past week has started to see the buyers coming back. And I think they're starting to see gold climb a little bit, and they feel like that the bottom's in and they better go ahead and get some. So we had a few gold buyers come back and a few little silver buyers. So we're starting to see that tick up a little bit.
Because like last week we talked about how the gold would still come back, but it's hit a floor for sure around 32, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it hit that 32 number, and
it doesn't really go below that anymore.
Didn't go below 32.
Yeah.
And that's the key word I want everybody to take away from this video is consolidation. We had the strongest, in my opinion, consolidation. When you look at the technicals, that's the charts and things like that. And then you look at what happened here at the shop. And that's why we're talking about their week in instead of a week in review, month in review, is because of the consolidation. We pulled back, we hit that 3,200 number, we cleared out the sellers, and now the buyers are starting to come back in.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to talk about also when we talk about my predictions coming.
Yeah.
It's going to be about the extremely strong consolidation that we saw in the last month.
Yeah.
Both in the technicals and here at our shop.
And another thing too, we got kind of a website starting.
Isn't that exciting?
To get that. Yes, it's not quite up yet, but we're getting
real
there.
soon. We're going to have a website, and there's going to be some really great deals there. Unfortunately, it's going to be that you have to come in and pick it up for a little while, and then we'll start doing shipping later on.
Right. Well, we'll have to hire a whole crew for that.
Yes, a separate crew for that.
But yeah, we're excited about that.
Yes, looking forward to that.
So let's get to your predictions. What do you see about gold? Let's get down to that.
Oh yeah. We'll just talking about predictions.
Yeah.
Well, with this extremely strong consolidation that has happened over the last month, I'm increasing my commitment and certainty that we're going to see 4,000 this year. I had said originally by the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised by October, November, we see the 4,000 and maybe even possibly start heading toward that 4,500 number. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to break the back of the commitment of traders. It's called the COT. That is the 6 banks, the 6 bullion banks that control the price of silver.
COT, what's COT?
COT, Commitment of Traders.
Okay.
That's the group that actually moves silver down and manipulates it down. They get help from the government. They get help from all over.
Really? They get help from the
government? The government puts laws in place. They work with them in lots of ways. We've talked about that on our other videos. And you kind of have to we really probably should do a playlist of videos for the commitment of traders and the bullion banks that control silver. So as gold runs away, because we saw this strong consolidation and now gold is setting up to run to 4,000, it's going to break silver. Silver's going to break. It's going to break the banks. We're going to break that $35, $36 number that I've been talking about for months and months and months. That once we get past that, which we kind of broke through it.
We touched it.
A few months ago, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So we had some consolidation in silver, pulled back to the 32 number, maybe even a little bit lower. We were selling at $30 spot for things. We had that consolidation. I think this is where it's going to start to really run, because you can't have 100 to 1. You can't increase to, looks like, if gold is running, it's a 110 to 1 ratio to silver. It's going to break the bullion banks, and silver, I believe, is going to start to run this year. And when it does, it's going to way outrun gold. We've talked about triple digit silver in other videos and the justification for that. So we're going to start to see that triple digit number, I think, could possibly this year.
Wow.
It's because it's getting so severe.
Yeah, well, it's so severe, you mean by 100 to 1. It's crazy.
Right. 100 to 1 is crazy. The fact that gold is running to 4,000, the fact that the commitment of traders, the bullion banks, have manipulated so hard the price down that when it does finally go, like nickel, when nickel broke out, it went up 300%, 400% in one day. So
wow.
Keep your eye on silver. I'm not saying silver is going to go up 300 or 400% in one day, but when it does finally break loose, you will not be able to find it. You will not be able to buy it anywhere.
I know, because no one's going to want to sell it.
Exactly. They're not going to know where the top is. They're not going to know what's going on. And it's so easy. My wholesaler, they've turned their computer off before, when things are going crazy. And then they'll recollect and find out what their suppliers are saying, and then they'll reprice things, put the premium in, and turn it back on.
Wow.
And so, yes, that could happen, but in a much more serious way.
Wow. Well, let's talk about the big, beautiful bill that just passed.
Yes, like to keep up with our 5 pillars. We have the 5 pillars of 100% guaranteeing that the price of gold and silver are going to continue to climb. And one of those is political. So we like to look at that a little bit. And of course, we had the big, beautiful bill this week that passed the House. It's going to the Senate. Shouldn't have too much trouble in the Senate. It'll be close. It'll be a close vote, but it'll get done, and then it'll get signed. And what that is weakening the dollar.
And that's what Trump wants.
Yes, he wants a weaker dollar, which is real positive for gold and silver. Mm-hmm. And what that does is that brings back manufacturing, because these other nations have been weaker, had a weaker currency, so our manufacturing and all that left. Not because they were more productive or had more ingenuity or anything like that. It was because they were playing against our reserve currency status and able to be lower.
Right.
If they're lower, well, then we can buy things from them cheaper, and the manufacturing is cheaper over there. So if we lower our dollar down, we can become competitive. And like I've said before, we're going to create another currency inside the U.S. that will probably be some form of digital.
Yeah.
But digital is a very scary thing. I don't think it'll be tied to the global digital currency. I think it'll be a citizens type currency. So something like that's coming, and I think that they're going to encourage everybody to do it with a $5,000 incentive, because we're headed for rocky roads. This is not going to be an easy transfer, and when things start to fall apart, they'll have to prop up the individuals.
So how should we position ourselves for that?
Yes, that's the thing that we're really encouraging. And it's not always just gold and silver.
Right.
I've been on other podcasts, and they ask me that, and I always say food.
Yeah.
You need to have your food and your sustainability.
Right.
What can you do as a side hustle now, but that you could do in an economic collapse also to continue to have income? What can you do to secure your food and water, secure your income, secure your yield? Your income could be off of like farmland or something that you can make money off of during a collapse, and then your gold and silver.
Yeah. That's a good. That's it. I was going to ask you about the asset class. How?
That's a good one. Yeah. So the asset class people, they're going to be in really great shape with the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Because as the dollar gets weaker, we're going to see inflation, and so your assets, your houses, your cars, everything down to bicycles, whatever, it's going to get more expensive.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're probably going to see more inflation.
Interest rates may go down to buy a house, but the price of the house is going to be higher. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And even this week, the existing home sales went up, I think it was 10%. They were expecting a negative 4% print, but in fact it went up 10% because people are saying, hey, let's get a house, the prices are climbing, we
Lower
want to
interest
put our
rate,
cash into
yeah.
something, interest rates are low right now, and so they're buying houses. And that can be a good thing if you're buying a house and you're putting renters in there and they're good, stable renters and they can make it through a downturn or whatever. And you've got enough capital into it where you're not upside down,
yeah.
where you could get out of it if you had to.
Right. That's good. Yeah. Okay. And so have our food security. That was my next thing. Okay. Well, let's talk about the silver deficit. What's going on there with that?
Yeah, so the silver deficit is really interesting. You know, we mined out of the ground about 600 million ounces a year, and we recycle about 200 million ounces, but we consume an additional 200 million. Now, this is plus or minus round numbers. So you're out about 1 billion ounces per year. So where's that? You know, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been running a deficit.
Yeah.
So we've gotten to almost $1 billion. That's more than a year's worth of mining that we have consumed.
The physical silver.
The physical silver, right. And that ties into the fact that somebody has been bringing massive amounts of gold and silver out of the LBMA into the COMEX. Now the COMEX is delivering that at a 700% to 1,000% increase from a year ago. We're seeing that these deliveries have increased.
So my question for us normies trying to get my brain around this. So when you say a deficit, you mean in relation the physical silver in relation to the paper? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it's the actual silver that people are taking delivery of.
Right.
So there's 600 million coming out of the ground. 200 million that's being recycled, but then we're 200 million short that we're physically taking delivery of. So there is some in storage and there is some that they can fake it for a little while and we can empty the warehouses and that type of thing.
Right.
So the warehouse, the COMEX, is about to be empty because you're going into the storage room and you're getting 200 million out. Eventually it's going to be empty.
Right.
And that's when people realize that when they say, hey, your paper silver's not here any longer because it was promised out to 10 other people and person number one got here a week before you did, and so we don't have yours. Here's some dollars. It's on this $33 right now. We'll give you $33 for it because we don't actually have it. When people start having to take currency instead of the actual silver, because there's no more actual silver in the storage room from years back when we had a surplus. Now that people are starting, nations and banks, you've got Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
They are stacking silver like crazy. JP Morgan stacking silver like crazy. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of ounces these people are stacking. And we don't know who's stacking at a 700 to 1,000% increase right now. Is it Warren Buffett? Is it the United States? Is it JP Morgan? I mean, they're driving the price down. Warren Buffett is working with them. Berkshire Hathaway works with them on driving the price down. JP Morgan works with them, works with the government. All three of them are hammering the price down, but at the same time, they're taking delivery of it.
Well, that's why, because they're hammering it down so they can buy it cheap.
Right, exactly. So they can get it on the cheap.
Right.
And get ready for what's coming.
Yeah.
Because they know what's coming.
Yeah.
They sure do.
And they don't want really anyone else stacking.
Right,
ready.
right.
Or certainly profiting in the stock market. We know it's a Ponzi scheme. But anyway, enough of that. So it's just my little opinion. Okay, so let's talk about the airplane that Trump took so much
back to our five
over.
pillars and our political rant. We have to talk about what's going on. So the plane that the Saudis gave Trump, a $400 million plane, the media jumped right on that as a gift. No, it was a gift to us, the U.S. citizen, United States
To the Air Force.
to the
yeah.
Air Force, and it's being retrofitted through the DOJ. So
DOD.
they're examining it
Yeah.
and making sure that it's fit and it's safe and it's secure.
Right.
And the Air Force is going to use it. So that's a windfall for us to
Right.
reduce our military spending. Doesn't have anything to do with Trump. Here,
No.
Trump is not taking a salary, not taking
I
a
know.
pension, doesn't want any money at all.
Right.
And yet they're trying to say he took this gift. Oh my goodness. No. If you want to talk
Gaslighting.
about gifts,
Yeah.
let's talk about Nancy Pelosi taking hundreds of millions of dollars in insider trading. Biden taking hundreds of
Yeah.
maybe as much as $100 million in his Corvette garage storing
Oh, my goodness.
documents. Not to mention he had an office with the CCP. He was handing documents right across the aisle
my
to him.
gosh.
And he was getting hundreds of millions of dollars. We could talk about the Clintons and the body count. It's like nearly 50 people, questionable deaths.
Yeah.
He committed suicide, but he shot himself and hung himself, or shot himself in the back of the head.
Twice.
Twice. She shot herself twice. If that was Trump, if Trump
my
had a 50
gosh.
body count of people, whether it's the cook or the assistant or
Yeah.
the DNC server guy, all these
Yeah.
people that are closely related to the Clintons. Let's look at those things. Don't look at a plane that was given to the United States citizens
Right.
and try to link it to Trump
Well, it's just gaslighting.
with all this other
That's
stuff.
all they
Right.
know
It's
how to
gaslighting.
do.
But I'm trying to show you that
Yeah.
politically we're in trouble. And we have this one last chance. There's a lot of things that Trump's doing that I don't like, but this is it. This is our last chance to give this guy a chance to see if he can turn this around.
Yeah.
We've got our mathematically impossible situations, our historically impossible situations, but God.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking for
Absolutely.
he's our president, not our savior, but give him a chance. It's our only possible way that we can get out of this.
Yeah. And how will we be faithful to pray and to steward this 4 years that we've been given?
Right. This
Really.
opportunity to make it strong and to bring it together.
Right. Exactly. Okay. My next question was, see, we know that you said a couple of things you didn't like because he's weakening the dollar.
Yes, I don't like the weakening of the dollar, but he has to do that because we have to have the big, beautiful bill in order to keep the status quo of things
Right.
going. But at the same time, we've got the cabinet members cutting everything.
Right.
And it's just a matter of turning it around.
Right.
You can look at what he's doing. You've got the drill, baby drill.
Right. Oh,
You've
there's so
got
many things.
nationalism. It's really nationalism. It's taking a lot of the indigent care, off of the system. We've had so many people come across the border. We have to cut that. And you look at Congress, they're having a fit. The Democrats are going crazy right now over the cabinet members, telling them you're cutting the $5 billion here, you're cutting $5 billion there. It's in the HR departments. It's in the unnecessary waste
Right.
and fraud. We've got to get the fraud and waste out, but yet the Democrats are so upset about that. So we need
have to
to
wonder why.
keep an eye on what's happening, and it's only going to take a few more months, maybe a year. We get up to the midterms,
Yeah.
get up to a 250th anniversary next July, and we'll know. That's all you got to do. It's just wait a
Yeah.
few more months, give him a chance,
Yeah.
and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I've said before, we can do this willingly or we
Yeah.
can do this unwillingly. So if you don't go willingly with this administration, we can go unwillingly and just lose the economy altogether
Yeah.
because it's an impossible situation without Trump.
That's true. And the Lord's given us these 4 years with him. So
Right,
thankful.
right. We are thankful. We appreciate everybody coming
Memorial
in.
Day. Have a wonderful Memorial Day
Yes, I've got the shirt
weekend.
on. We got the cabinet fixed in the
Yes.
background. Weeks and weeks that thing's been broken. Finally got that fixed. Got some of the other cabinets fixed.
Yeah.
You've got to come in and see it. We'd love to see you. Love to talk to you.
Blessings.
Come by.
Yes. Blessings.
Bless you guys.
y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.